The Bold and the Beautiful. A wedding, a pregnancy, a war. Taylor's shocking reveal changes everything in a universe where love triangles are generational and no truth stays buried for long. The Bold and the Beautiful has once again thrown its viewers into chaos with a plot twist that no one saw coming, yet somehow no one can stop watching. Just when the dust seemed to settle on the latest round of romantic musical chairs between Ridge Forrester, Brooke Logan, and Taylor Hayes, a bombshell drops that threatens to reset everything. Taylor is pregnant. The timing couldn't be more explosive. Ridge had just dropped to one knee again and proposed to Brooke, choosing her over Taylor in front of the world. For the millionth time, Ridge declared Brooke to be his destiny. A ring was slid on her finger. Tears were shed. Champagne popped. The press caught wind. Headlines praised the eternal love story. Ridge seemed genuinely ready to close the chapter on Taylor for good. But before the newly engaged couple could even plan a date, Taylor walked into Ridge's office with an envelope. She wasn't crying. She wasn't begging. She wasn't dramatic. She simply handed him the document and waited. Ridge opened the envelope. He blinked. He read it again. He stared at her. "Is this real?" he asked, his voice already unsteady. Taylor nodded once. "Yes, I'm pregnant." The air was sucked out of the room. For a moment, Ridge couldn't speak. He sat down, the paper trembling in his hands. The Forrester patriarch, the man who built empires and destroyed lives with his indecision, was speechless. The audience was just as stunned. A pregnancy storyline for Taylor Hayes, a woman of mature age and medical background. Unprecedented, unlikely, but impossible. No, not for a woman with her health, strength, and willpower. And certainly not in a soap world where fate has a tendency to rewrite biology. The father, without question, Ridge. The timing of conception. A few weeks prior, during a vulnerable night shared between them just before Ridge's final decision to return to Brooke. It was meant to be closure. It became something else entirely. Taylor's decision to reveal the pregnancy wasn't strategic. It wasn't emotional blackmail. It was a fact, a medical reality. A child was coming and it was Ridge's. Suddenly, everything changed. Ridge, overwhelmed by the news, found himself torn. Again. Despite his recent engagement to Brooke, he couldn't ignore the pull of responsibility or the hope. A child, after all this time. A chance to right the wrongs of the past, to rebuild something not from guilt or regret, but from new life. But Brooke Logan did not take it well. At first, she laughed. Literally laughed in Taylor's face. "You expect me to believe this? At your age," she snapped. "This is desperate, even for you." But the test results were real. Taylor's OBGYN confirmed it. The hormone levels were consistent. The scans matched up. The pregnancy was viable. Brooke was rattled. Her engagement felt like a house of cards collapsing in slow motion. Ridge wasn't rushing to cancel their wedding, but he wasn't racing forward with it either. He became quiet, distant, contemplative. Brooke had seen this pattern before, and she wasn't about to watch Ridge slip through her fingers. Not this time. Not again. So she made a decision. A Brooke decision. If the pregnancy was the only thing standing between her and Ridge's future, then the pregnancy had to be dealt with. Not publicly, not through confrontation, not even by persuasion. Silently, strategically, ruthlessly, Brooke began making calls, discreet ones. She visited the doctor's office under the guise of needing a new provider. She asked probing questions. She checked on Taylor's file illegally through a contact in the clinic. What she found was everything she needed: the due date, the medications prescribed, the vulnerabilities. Next, she reached out to a pharmacist, an old flame, told him it was about a friend. A complex pregnancy, asked what could cause spontaneous miscarriage. Then she inquired about herbal interactions, supplements, stress triggers, medications that shouldn't be mixed with certain prenatal vitamins. Then she visited Taylor. She brought flowers. She acted sweet. Asked if they could talk woman to woman. Taylor, still trying to believe in the good of people, let her in. Brooke offered tea. Made it herself in the kitchen while Taylor was in the other room. She laced it with something subtle. Nothing traceable. That night, Taylor felt a sharp cramp. She chalked it up to stress, then nausea, then spotting. She went to bed early. The next morning, she collapsed in her bathroom. She was rushed to the hospital. Ultrasound was rushed. The heartbeat was still there but faint. The doctors put her on emergency bed rest. The pregnancy was now classified as high risk. The fetus was weak, but hanging on. Ridge arrived at the hospital before anyone. He was frantic, protective, stayed at Taylor's side all night. He told Brooke not to come. "This is about the baby," he said coldly. And Brooke's rage burned hot. Her plan had almost worked. She had nearly ended the threat, but nearly wasn't enough. Taylor still carried the child. Rage was now closer to her than ever. And even worse public sympathy shifted toward Taylor, the brave woman facing a late-in-life pregnancy while being targeted by whispers and stress. The press found out. Paparazzi camped outside the hospital. Forrester love triangle turns parental. Taylor Hayes pregnant at 50 plus. Brooke in the shadows as Ridge prioritizes future child. Brooke began spiraling. She tried to salvage the engagement. She offered Ridge a rushed wedding now. He refused. "Not while Taylor's in the hospital," he said. "Not while my baby's at risk." The word "my baby" shattered Brooke. Meanwhile, Steffi and Thomas rallied around their mother. They were stunned but fiercely supportive. Steffi said it best. "This baby is a miracle. It's a second chance for all of us." Help tried to mediate, but her loyalty was split. Her mother was unraveling. Her father was emotionally absent. And Ridge, the man she once called family, was becoming someone else entirely. The tension reached its peak when Ridge made a statement to the press. "There will be no wedding to Brooke Logan at this time. My focus is on Taylor and our child." The fallout was immediate. Brooke was humiliated. She issued a counter-statement, calling the situation a temporary misunderstanding and that she remained confident in her future with Ridge. But behind closed doors, she was plotting again. She visited Taylor once more, unannounced. This time, Ridge wasn't there. She stood over Taylor's hospital bed and said coldly, "You're not going to win, Taylor. Even if you carry that baby to term, Ridge will always come back to me. You're just a detour." Taylor, pale and weak, looked up and whispered, "You tried to kill my child." Brooke didn't deny it. She only smiled. But what neither of them knew was that a nurse had overheard everything. And that nurse was connected to Bill Spencer and already feeding him updates. Bill, sensing opportunity, began collecting evidence. If Brooke had interfered with Taylor's pregnancy, it wasn't just a personal scandal, it could become a criminal case. And if Ridge found out, there would be no coming back. A baby, a ring, a woman on bed rest, a wedding on hold, and Brooke Logan, spiraling deeper into a darkness she once swore she'd left behind. The stage is set. The war is on. And this time, only one woman will walk away with Ridge's heart and a child to prove it. The bold and the beautiful. Brooke crosses the line. Attempted murder rocks the Forrester family. The war between Brooke Logan and Taylor Hayes was no longer about love. It had escalated beyond jealousy, beyond pride, beyond even the child growing inside Taylor. What began as emotional warfare had now become a matter of life and death. And this time, there would be no walking it back. No forgiveness. No cover-up. Because Brooke Logan just tried to kill Taylor Hayes and Ridge Forrester saw it with his own eyes. It happened at the hospital. Taylor had been moved to a private recovery suite after a traumatic scare that nearly ended her pregnancy. The fetus was hanging on by a thread. Doctors had placed Taylor on strict bed rest with clear orders, no stress, no sudden movements, and absolutely no uninvited visitors. But Brooke, blinded by desperation, ignored every warning. She entered the hospital under a fake name, disguised in a trench coat and oversized sunglasses. She timed her arrival perfectly, waiting until the evening shift change when security was lax and Ridge had briefly stepped away to grab something from home. No one expected Brooke to show up again, not after the last confrontation, not after her venomous threat in Taylor's hospital room days earlier. But this wasn't a conversation. This wasn't about words anymore. Brooke entered the room like a storm. Taylor, half asleep, stirred awake at the sound of the door creaking. Her heart rate monitor began to spike. "You need to leave," Taylor said weakly. "Now," but Brooke stepped closer. Her voice was cold, flat, almost inhuman. "You don't get to win, Taylor. Not this time. Not with Ridge. Not with this baby." Taylor struggled to sit up. Her hand reached for the emergency call button, but Brooke slapped it away. "I should have ended this weeks ago," Brooke hissed. Then, in a shocking, calculated move, Brooke grabbed the four-pole and yanked it forward, forcing Taylor off balance. Taylor cried out. She staggered. Her body twisted as she lost her footing, feet slipping against the polished tile. And then it happened. Brooke shoved her. It was a deliberate push. Forceful, malicious, aimed directly at the woman who had carried Ridge's child. Taylor fell backward, her arms flailing midair. But just before she hit the floor, Ridge burst through the door. "Taylor!" he shouted. In one fluid motion, Ridge lunged forward and caught Taylor before her head struck the ground. The impact was softened, but not without pain. Taylor clutched her abdomen, groaning. Ridge screamed for help, pressing the emergency button himself as nurses rushed in. Then he turned to Brooke. His face said it all. What he had just witnessed was attempted murder. "What did you do?" Ridge roared, his voice shaking with fury. "What the hell did you just do?" Brooke froze. For once, she had no words. No spin. No tears. She stammered. I didn't mean you pushed her," Ridge yelled. "I saw it. With my own eyes. You tried to kill her. And the baby." The nurses pulled Taylor onto the bed, calling in a crash team and an OB specialist. The fetal monitor began its rapid beeping, a high-pitched alarm cutting through the chaos. Ridge didn't move. His eyes never left Brooke. "Get out," he snarled. "Before I have you dragged out in cuffs." Security arrived moments later. They escorted Brooke from the hospital as paparazzi snapped photos from across the street. She was pale, shaking, whispering that it was a misunderstanding, that she didn't mean it, that Taylor slipped. But no one was listening. Not anymore. Word spread fast. By the time the sun rose, the headlines were everywhere. Brooke Logan accused of attempted murder tried to push pregnant Taylor Hayes Ridge Forrester. "I saw her try to kill them both." Love triangle turns criminal. The Forresters were stunned. Steffi was livid. She demanded a restraining order. Thomas, though still hiding after his own violent breakdown, sent word through his lawyer. "I knew Brooke was poison. Even Hope couldn't defend her mother anymore. She went too far," Hope whispered to Liam. "I don't know who she is anymore." Meanwhile, Rich stayed by Taylor's side. For the first time in years, there was no question where his loyalty lay. He held her hand during the ultrasounds. He whispered to the baby that Daddy was there. And when the doctor finally returned with the update, everyone held their breath. "The baby is alive," the doctor said. It was close, but they're both stable. Ridge exhaled, and he cried. Back at Brooke's mansion, the atmosphere was toxic. Reporters camped outside. Donna tried to reason with her, but Brooke was spiraling. She refused to take responsibility. She claimed it was an accident, that Ridge was overreacting, that Taylor was exaggerating. But deep down, she knew. This time, she had gone too far. Ridge filed an official police report. Investigators launched a formal inquiry. The hospital supplied security footage that showed Brooke entering under false pretenses. Nurses testified. A witness from across the hall confirmed hearing a scream and a loud crash. Brooke was served with an emergency protection order. She was banned from approaching the hospital, Ridge, or Taylor. Her engagement over. The ring was returned by a courier. No note. We're done, Rich told her. You tried to kill the mother of my child. There's no coming back from that. But Brooke wasn't finished. Behind the scenes, she hired an aggressive legal team. She began crafting a counter-narrative, claiming Taylor was staging everything, that the pregnancy was a trap, that Ridge was being manipulated. She hinted at pressing charges of her own defamation, slander, emotional abuse. It was all noise. The truth was, Brooke Logan had crossed a line. She had tried to end two lives in one moment of blind jealousy. And now, she might lose everything: her name, her career, her family. Meanwhile, Taylor's pregnancy became more than a miracle. It became a symbol of resilience, of new beginnings, of a love reborn not out of obsession, but out of protection. The baby lived. Rich had chosen. And Brooke, she now stood alone, not as a victim, but as the villain.